Hello everyone, and welcome to the conclusion of my first playtest of my Memoir 44 Bagration breakthrough campaign scenario. This is the first scenario in the series. I'm planning to do lots of them, a north, south, and center campaign, basically, roughly of 6 scenarios each. And this first scenario, the first playtest at least, surprisingly enough, resulted in a big win for the Germans. The Russians scored only 6 medals, and the Germans scored 15, which is the number required to actually win the scenario. How do they do that? Well, first of all, they start off with 8 medals. I'm always putting the blue ones so that when I clean up the board, I don't forget that there are actually medals. If you turn them around, you see the German side up and they kind of tend to get lost. So 15-6. How did that happen? Well, as I said, they start off with quite a few medals, and initially the Germans are really well entrenched, and it's difficult for the Russians to break through. They did try here, but were perhaps a bit too passive and at certain moments a bit too bold. Also, as happened in the actual campaign, perhaps they should have used air power and recon 1 cards, which can be used by the Russian player as air power cards in this scenario, to take out the German artillery, which is in fact what actually happened a lot. Well, the artillery made things pretty difficult for the Russians. What else makes it difficult for them is these marshes over here, because you actually have to stop moving in and then moving out. I believe infantry can fire just fine, but armor cannot fire. You have to stop in an adjacent hex. So if you're pushed back because of a flag or whatever, well, you have to retreat again, and it takes a long time before you actually break through. I'm going to play it again as written and see how it turns out then. Another option might be if the Germans still prove to be too strong. Well, before I actually do that, let me mention one big mistake that the Russians actually made. Here you can see that they have a couple of partisan units. I use the French resistance token there, emblem, badge. Another one here, and there used to be another one, but that one I think got destroyed. What happened there is they could have claimed some of these town hexes which were undefended earlier on and taken the medals from the Germans. They could have taken this one at a certain point, for instance, and then the German units in the rear would have had to engage them probably. They didn't, even though they had ample opportunity to do so, and in that way it might have, that they might have had 2 medals more, which the Germans didn't have. And now, as you can see, there are big gaps in the German defenses over here and over here as well. They are breaking through with lots of armor still in reserve, and here a very big force still in reserve. So now they might have actually pushed forward. But yeah, this result signifies a very bad start for the Russians, and yeah, I guess it's nice in a way that the Germans can actually also win. But as I was saying, what I might still do if it turns out that the Germans really are too strong is that I will implement the Commissar rule, but then for the Germans rather than for the Soviets, who do not use it in this scenario, only in early war scenarios usually. It makes sense because Hitler was constantly interfering and meddling with, really micromanaging everything. So it might actually thematically fit, but I'm not sure if I'm going to do that. But it might be an option if the Germans prove to be too strong. But like I said, what the Russians probably should have done, rather than attack a group of Germans of 2 units or something that were over here, they probably should have focused on the artillery, and the partisans should have come to action as well, which they didn't do. Also, as far as campaign medals go, or the objective track, the Germans scored 2 extra medals for still controlling Vitebsk, and the Russians lose 2 campaign medals. So the 2 that they did have, it cannot drop below 0, by the way, but the 2 that they did have are actually lost because they don't control Vitebsk. and the Germans get 2 for still controlling it, and the Germans also get 1 victory medal for each 3 units. Instead of 3 units that they still have, they actually have 10 units still left on the board. So that is another 3 on the objective track, so campaign medals. So in total, the score is, and don't mind my handwriting, it's very bad. In total, the Germans have 15 medals, plus 2 for Vitebsk is 17, plus 3 is 20 at the moment. And the Russians have 6, and then they had 2 campaign medals, but they lose them again. So, yes, it's been quite exciting as far as that goes. Yeah, so let's see how it turns out during this second playtest. Thank you for watching, and see you after the next one.